Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're actually going to be looking at some pre-built gaming PCs because E3 is now kicked off and going right on along, so we're getting a lot of new game announcements and that sort of thing. So I think it's fitting that we go ahead and look for an entry-level type of sort of 1080p gaming machine to play some of these new titles that are going to be coming out over the next several months, and some of the new titles that are actually being announced at E3 right now. So here I'm not really looking for necessarily the best absolute value out there. I'm not even necessarily looking for something that could only do 1080p. Really, we're just perusing through some gaming PCs to see what's on offer here at Newegg, and this is of course the United States site. So getting us started here, since I am sort of targeting newer AAA titles, but at 1080p, I'm sort of looking for something that's probably in the, for a graphics card, something like a GTX 1060-ish, because that gives me a little bit more sort of, I hate the term, but future-proofness with the graphics card side of things. If you're getting like a 1050 Ti, yeah, it'll play modern AAA titles at 1080p right now, but I don't really know how long that'll last, how long it'll be able to play those 1080p titles at really good settings. So I'm gonna stick with the 1060, and for CPUs, I'm not really so worried about it right now. We'll sort of go forward with just the graphics card search. So we're going to start with the GTX 1060 here and see what we come up with. So on the front page here, without doing any sorting, we're looking at a lot of computers that, at least in my untrained eye, because I don't really look at pre-builts a whole lot, these seem a little bit on the expensive side. So what I'm going to do, actually, this one doesn't seem awful, though that 7400 I don't particularly like. I'm actually going to go ahead and sort by the lowest price and see what pops up. Okay, so it looks like we have some HP units, and this is why I don't like that 7400, obviously, because we have several 7700s, which obviously are hyper-threaded quad-core processors that are cheaper than the 7400, though I would say that, not that it really matters if you're just really looking for function over form here, the black and green does look, in my mind, better than the sort of silvery. But these are also refurbs, so if you're into purely just brand new type of thing, then probably not the PC for you here. So looking at these refurb units from HP, a couple things I like, a couple things I don't like. I love that it's a i7 7700, and I do like that it has 16 gigabytes of RAM. I don't like that we're talking about a GTX 1060 3 gigabyte version instead of a 6 gigabyte version. In fact, I would be almost willing to sacrifice 8 gigabytes of system memory for that 6 gigabyte card instead of the 3 gigabyte card. And I said almost. There's a little bit of a trade-off, and it depends on what games you're playing will depend on whether that's a good trade-off or not. But I have actually found that in most games that I test, 8 gigabytes will get you by. Obviously 16 gigabytes is far preferable, but if you just need to start out with 8 gigabytes, then that's fine as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy, because it is the cheapest, actually brand new unit. And I hate that it doesn't show me inside of the system itself. Again, working with that 3 gigabyte graphics card, this is just 8 gigabytes of system memory. It does have 1 terabyte hard drive in it, which is good. You could easily add a solid state drive to give yourself a faster boot drive there. For just under $800, though, that seems pretty spicy, especially considering we're only getting 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. So popping back here, we're actually gonna go ahead and open this up a little bit and actually go backwards a little to the 1050 Ti. I know I said I wasn't really gonna start there, but well, that doesn't really save us a whole lot of money either. Plus, we're getting FX series processors. That's just not acceptable, period. The Ryzen 3 1200, probably an okay pairing, and actually this one looks good on the inside. But these don't exactly look like the best of values here. They actually look like, well, kind of like a ripoff, to be honest. So popping back to the GTX 900 series, and that's just because I feel like maybe going back to older hardware might actually help a little bit. Yeah, that's actually not really doing us any favors. So instead of doing that, we're actually going to pop over to the AMD cards, and we're going to target the 580s and 570s and even the 480s and 470s because those are the cards that are at least reasonably priced compared to their NVIDIA counterparts. The Vega cards are still quite expensive. I can't really imagine those being any kind of good value for a gaming PC. So this might be okay. We have a Ryzen 5 1400 with a 570 graphics card. That would be a pretty good 1080p gaming machine. It would definitely beat out the GTX 1050 Ti. At least I believe it would pretty handily, but at the same time, it would be beaten out fairly handily also by those GTX 1060 systems, especially the refurbs that have the i7s in it. So a little bit of a mixed bag on that front. That's the cheapest one available, not even sold and shipped by Newegg. It's actually sold and shipped by Deal King, so probably not even the greatest customer service there as well. We do have a refurbished Alienware Aurora R6. That's with an i5-7400. Again, overpaying, though, for the hardware that you're getting, at least as far as the Newegg front goes. I'm just not seeing really any good values here, considering what you can actually buy brand new parts for at the time of filming this. So moving over to Amazon, we actually have a little bit better deals, especially like HP here has some good things going on. We have a 7400 paired with a 3GB 1060. That's, you know, that's pretty solid. You actually have an even better deal down here. You have for $740. This is actually a decent deal. An i5 8400. So you get the most recent Intel i5. That's a Coffee Lake processor with 6 cores instead of the quad cores of the 7000 series, and you do get an RX 580, unlike the GTX 1060 3GB versus 6GB. The 580, I believe the 4GB is the exact same 580 that you would get with 8GB of RAM. The only difference, of course, being that you only get 4GB of VRAM instead of 8. So the 580 there would likely outperform a 3GB 1060, I believe, in pretty much across the board. But that actually looks like a decent deal. $740, you know, again, that's probably slightly above the price that you might end up paying if you were building it yourself, but that would be just around the price. Plus, you actually get a couple peripherals if you really don't have anything going on there. Maybe this is your first computer, and you do have a system that actually looks good, and it's a cohesive build. It's that red theme, so it is actually a very cohesive deal here. You get a 1TB hard drive for mass storage, 8GB of system RAM. You can always upgrade that down the road, but actually a really solid system for the price. That's probably the best deal and really the only good deal that I've run across at this point. Though, as I say that, there is one of these left, and it'll probably be gone by the time we get to it, or you get to it, rather, if you're checking it out, but maybe they'll be back in stock, too. A 7400 paired with a 1060 is not a bad deal at $600 either. But to sort of harp on how it's actually not great deals that we're finding, whereas, you know, a couple months ago, I was actually highly recommending people go and buy a pre-built because you were able to get components at a reasonable cost through the pre-built route, whereas buying them on something like Newegg or Amazon just wasn't feasible. Now we're back to a point where actually buying new components is feasible. So for example, here with this system I just threw together just a couple minutes ago, you have a Ryzen 5 1400, so 4 cores, 8 threads. Sure, it's not as good as an Intel quad-core and 8-thread processor, but it will do the job, especially with something like a 1060, but I'm getting a 1060 6GB version right now with a 2TB hard drive running at 7200 RPM, 8GB of system memory, though running at 3000 megahertz, B350 motherboard, so we can overclock this Ryzen 5 1400, especially later on if you add a cooler down the road. You get a not hideous case, at least aesthetically. It's a pretty minimalist look, and you get a 450 watt power supply that's 80 plus bronze certified. It gives you a little bit of upgradability. After promos and rebates and everything, we're down about $650. Well, that's about the price that we were just talking about this HP up here. About another $50, except we're getting a Ryzen system with, instead of the 3GB, a 10GB version of the card. Now, I already know that some of you are pointing out that these pre-builts come with Windows, a Windows license. You can get a Windows license for about 10 or 15 bucks at most on somewhere like eBay. So it's actually fairly easy to find a cheap Windows license. Yeah, it adds about $10 or $15 if you don't already have one to the build cost. but pre-builts right now are not what they once were. They are not like they were earlier in this year. They're not the best deals out there. If you're willing to learn and build yourself, it actually looks like we're back to a point where you can actually build a PC, at least as far as a mid to lower end gaming PC, for about the price, if not cheaper than a pre-built. Plus, you have that intimate knowledge of everything in the build. So that's just been a quick rundown of looking for sort of a 1080p pre-built gaming PC, what the values are out there versus building yourself. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Are you more likely to buy a pre-built? Are you more likely to build yourself? Or maybe, you know, you're sort of blending the two and getting a friend to help you put together a PC. Let me know which method you would prefer to go to if you're getting into the PC gaming space in those comments down below. And of course, if you guys like this video and you like what I'm doing here, give me a like, share, subscribe, and comment. Those things help out a lot. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. They are the same tag for your convenience, and they are also the best way of getting a hold of me. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a few more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.